The United States is about to be defeated in the Middle East by Iran. We are not going to achieve our objectives. We're going to be humiliated.
So knowing Europe's leaders, even being plunged into an energy crisis such as this, will continue sticking dogmatically to their self-destructive foreign policy and will refuse to allow Russia energy exports to Europe to start again. Do you have any predictions on that? I mean, I understand that Europe is acting like psychopaths, just as much as the Biden administration and the Trump administration. They're actually doing these self-inflicted wounds left and right. The Nord Stream pipeline was a self-inflicted wound on the European economy, and now they have one more pipeline open. Do you think they'll continue to shoot themselves in the foot or in the head by denying the Russian energy to Europe? What do you think?
Well, I think there's some steps that have to take place before they'll turn on Nord Stream. But the first step is that Europe is going to come to grips with the fact that the United States is no longer the global superpower that it claims to be. The United States is about to be defeated in the Middle East by Iran. We are not going to achieve our objectives. We're going to be humiliated. We're going to run out of ammunition, and we're going to have to seek a devastating conditions of ceasefire, because what will happen when we run out of ammunition is that Iran will continue to launch missiles and we have no defense. And so not only will over $100 billion of U.S. military infrastructure in the Middle East be destroyed, but Israel will be fundamentally destroyed as well. The United States, in order to bring an end to this conflict, will have to agree to terms such as they are going to leave the Middle East. And when the United States leaves the Middle East, Europe is one of the nations that have benefited from the American security umbrella, and Europe will have to do a massive recalculation about where its security interests lie. And Europe is not capable of securing itself. So rather than confronting Russia, they will have to learn to live peacefully with Russia. And one of the ways you live peacefully with Russia is to trade with Russia. And the best and the most economically beneficial trade would be to resume the purchase of Russian energy, and the most efficient and fastest way to do that is to turn on the Nord Stream pipeline. So I think that, yes, the Nord Stream pipeline is going to be turned on sooner rather than later. I also think that the people who are going to make that decision in Europe aren't going to be named Merz, Macron, Starmer, Ursula von der Leyen, and others, because they will have no credibility shortly. They will be held accountable for the economic collapse of Europe, and they will be removed. And there will be a new generation of political leaders who be more inclined to look out for what's best for Europe, and what's best for Europe is to purchase Russian gas at a very reasonable price.
So do you, am I hearing things, or are you saying that in a weird way, this big mistake that Trump is doing and Israel are doing, this is could result actually in a weird, after this, the world gets set on fire, that there will actually pull out of the Middle East, and there'll be more stability in Europe with Russia and the Middle East? Do you think that's possibly the end of this?
Either the United States wins, and right now I don't see a path towards victory, and they collapse the Iranian regime and they achieve the outcome they're desiring, or we run out of ammunition and we lose. And we know right now Donald Trump has acknowledged that the original time frame of this conflict is no longer realistic. But the first thing he said is, we have enough ammunition. But the ammunition he's going to source comes from around the world, meaning we're going to draw down on the Pacific. What's that say about our ability to have a military overmatch with China? We've also drawn down in Europe, and we don't have enough ammunition. Iran has planned this campaign out brilliantly. They can outlast us. And when we lose, one of the conditions that Iran has already made clear is that for the Gulf Arab nations to have normal relations with Iran, they must cease their cooperation with the United States. If they don't, then they will die. They will be destroyed. And we've already talked about how that can happen, simply blowing up pipelines, blowing up gas terminals, and that's the end of their economies. None of these sheiks want to, they won't survive that. The people will rise up and they'll be dragged through the streets and hacked to death. That's what happens to Middle East kings. Who lose faith in the people. And so these we already hear the United Arab Emirates talking about the United States needs to get out. And you're going to hear other nations say the same thing, especially when it becomes clear that the infrastructure the United States had in those nations had been destroyed. And the only way the United States could return is by rebuilding this infrastructure. And they can't do that if they just lost this conflict. So yes, I'm saying that one of the things that could happen with this conflict is that the United States will be compelled to leave the Middle East, stop viewing it as its personal military dominated stomping grounds, and force the nations of the Persian Gulf to learn to live together in peace and harmony. And you know what? It was China that came in and brokered a rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran. So we know it's possible if the United States just gets out of the way. And Israel cannot posture the way it currently postures without the backing of the United States. But if the United States is strategically defeated in the Middle East, as it appears we will be, then Israel will have to tone down its message as well. And then there's Europe. We're speaking of the economic collapse of Europe, which will lead to the political collapse of the ruling elite, which will lead to a new class of politicians who may very well realize that they have to live in peace with Russia. And the conflict in Ukraine will end on terms favorable to Russia. And guess what? Peace will be breaking out all over, because the number one impediment to global peace is the United States. And when you remove the United States from the equation, good things can happen.
Scott Ritter, I appreciate you taking time to talk to us today. Thank you for your expertise. I'm sure we'll talk to you again soon. And take care, pal.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. If you like to hear my jokes about this, come see me in San Antonio, Albuquerque, Houston, Dallas, Salt Lake City. We'll be at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles in April, and then Las Vegas, and then Tulsa, and then Oklahoma City. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, because that's where you're going to find the most affordable tickets. Anywhere else charges more.